Hi, I'm Jonathan York, Bay Financial Partners, looking at investment markets. It's now been a pretty tumultuous week in the US, with Trump coming out and sort of firing tariffs with levels of sort of 50 all the way up to 200%, and just seems to be sort of off the cuff comments with little sort of thought or rhyme or reason behind it. Certainly on the back of that, the US share market is, sort of very nervous and back in correction territory. Also, consumer confidence has fallen as well in the latest University of Michigan survey. But also as well, Trump's facing a bit of pressure from the Supreme Court for, probably the first time as well, because he's come out and said that basically a judge who issued a ruling that went against what he wanted, that judge should be impeached. Now, that's clearly not the act of a rational person, because, just because you get a ruling against you, you can't just say, oh, I want you out, I want you fired, which is clearly what he's been doing in his business empire. So it will be very interesting to see how it plays out, because clearly the honeymoon period is over. Now, with the Fed meeting this week as well, no one really expects any change on interest rates because, given the uncertainty out there, it's very hard for the Fed to plot a course in terms of lower interest rates because it just doesn't seem to be a clear economic policy at present. So on the back of that, US rates are sort of hovering around the sort of current levels, 427 on the 10-year. The 2 years just nudged back above 4% at 403. Indeed, there are even some analysts and economists out there who are sort of wondering whether Trump is trying to engineer a recession. Now, if that is the case, that's a pretty dangerous path to be heading along. Now, positive news out there is that after a call with Trump, Putin has agreed to a ceasefire, but that ceasefire comes after the sort of 10 days of sort of constant bombardment of Ukraine after the US withdrew military aid, but also intelligence aid as well. And again, it'll be very interesting to see what conditions Putin puts on the ceasefire in terms of sort of land, etc. But then on the negative side, Israel has started bombing Hamas again, and approximately 400 people have died. Now, that's a clear breach of the ceasefire, and it's just going to be very interesting to see, one, what the international reaction is. So far, it has been pretty negative towards Israel. So oil is nudged back just below 67 bucks and change now, and that's really on the back of weaker demand. And again, that sort of weaker price then could pose some problems for Trump and his drill baby drill policy, because more supply would just force the price down even lower. Now in the UK, the latest GDP data for January was down 0.1, which is obviously a negative reading, and that comes on the back of the December that was plus 0.4. So, UK is certainly heading in the wrong direction, but will that be enough to see the Bank of England cut interest rates again? Now in Europe as well, it's just sort of a wait and see case, just to see how the sort of potential US tariffs sort of impact the EU economies. Because certainly a potential sort of 200% tariffs on European wine and champagne would be pretty damaging. But then on the flip side, that hardly helps improve the US manufacturing base. Now in Australia, the latest consumer confidence numbers are up around 4%, just short of 96. Again, that's encouraging. Iron ore prices are up slightly, but again, just waiting to see the full impact of potential US tariffs. And we also have an election coming up as well, and certainly Albanese, he's going to struggle to get a majority government. Now here in New Zealand, obviously good news on the dairy and horticultural sectors. They're going pretty well. Tourism's done pretty well over the summer, but obviously summer has been pretty hot and dry, and that does have some major implications out there for potentially the energy prices over the winter months. Because certainly some of the lakes are pretty low. And also as well, sort of dry areas, potential drought in some of the sort of dairy sector areas as well could impact on the production over the next sort of couple of months. Meanwhile, PM Luxem is over in India trying to get a free trade agreement. That may be a little bit tough out there, but certainly there's been some very encouraging signs and some pretty decent agreements sort of signed over the last couple of days. So if you are looking for income options, go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles. I look forward to speaking to you soon.